Our next guest on the good side is an incredible human being that has faced a ton of adversity, has a wonderful just spirit and just incredibly contagious energy about him, and you're going to absolutely love him. Before we get to that, I just want to remind you that this is an interactive show, okay? So what that means is there's going to be times when I ask for your opinion on things, or if you see something or hear something and you want to chime in, please comment wherever you're listening or watching this from. Make a comment, post a comment, share this, like this, etc. And what that's going to do is not only is going to help you represent the good side, but also we are always giving away merch. So the more you comment, the more you share, the more you interact with us, the good side, the more likely you are that we're going to send you some free merch. So with that being said, our next guest is a business coach, author, inspirational speaker. He's a co-founder of Menace in Business and the co-host of the Menace AF podcast. We have Mr. Nick Trevillian. What's up, guys? I'm so excited because I have a very special guest, Mr. Nicholas. What's up, Nicholas? I just want to start with, let's get to know you a little bit more. So, where did you grow up? Where are you originally from?
Dude, I'm from a teeny town 2 hours north of Phoenix, Arizona, called Prescott Valley, Arizona. Grew up on a prairie on 10 acres in a single-wide trailer. Grew up playing sports my whole life, man. And when you're a kid in a small town, you want to get out as fast as you possibly can, man. So I grew up in Prescott, Arizona, bro.
So, did you know, kind of at an early age, that you did not want to live in a single wide the rest of your life in Prescott, Arizona?
Yeah, you know how a lot of entrepreneurs have this story where, dude, when I was 4 years old, I had a lemonade stand, and I was born to be an entrepreneur. You hear people talk about those stories of selling T-shirts when they were 11. Not me. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship or business. I didn't really know much about that, right? And I just grew up playing sports, man, and didn't know what business was about or anything like that. Had no want, need, or desire other than, trying to be a pro football player or something, And I had a really interesting experience. When I was 16 years old, my best friend's father was one of my football coaches, and he was a broke plumber. And when I say that, he says that with pride, barely trying to put food on the table, but he made it to coach us. And I knew him through, football and sports, and I grew up with his son, and we skateboarded together. And somebody came to him, and they taught him about high-ticket sales. So keep in mind, I'm 14, 15 at the time. He goes from a broke plumber inside of 2 years to making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in high-ticket sales. And I didn't know what that really meant, but I knew that he was making money. And then he started buying real estate and rehabbing it. Well, I'm 16. He gets really into Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, being a great mentor and a coach to me and my best friend, he started teaching us about real estate and what the cash flow quadrant was. I remember being 16 years old playing the Rich Dad, Poor Dad board game. And we just thought we were playing around on a Friday night as kids. What he was really doing is programming our subconscious minds, and I had no clue about it. So I got a chance to experience what a true rich dad was at that time. I don't call my dad my poor dad, just financially poor. He just didn't know, right? My dad's a high school dropout. But my best friend's father started mentoring us. And when I was 19 years old, going to college, I realized that, dude, entrepreneurship is awesome. I just watched him become a multimillionaire. He's got vacation homes. And I got into real estate when I was 19 years old, dude.
That's amazing. So do you think, so this journey kind of you got a great deal of clarity at the age of 16. Yeah. Getting introduced to your buddy's dad and then him, by way of him, Robert K. And
yeah.
So before the age of 16, though, did you have that entrepreneurial sort of brain and didn't fit in well? Or, describe what it was like leading up to that.
No, dude, that's the thing is, I wasn't born to be an entrepreneur. I don't believe... I think destiny is a choice. You're not born with it. And so for me, it was study, dude. And coming up, we grew up in a single wide trailer. We didn't have money to put me through college. And so I got a football scholarship to play junior college community football, and they paid for my books and stuff, dude. And so that was my experience in school. And so it's not like I was on this trajectory to become this, doctor or whatever. We couldn't financially afford to put me through college. And so I did the best I could, started playing ball, which was awesome, got to play community college football and stuff like that. And I just thought, if I could learn some of this stuff and start modeling some people that I want to be like, great, I can kind of cut down the learning curve, dude. So, I went to my first Tony Robbins seminar when I was 19 years old. I was going to Goodwill buying books for $1 or $2 because financially I couldn't invest in these huge courses, but I knew that I could read a book. And dude, I just started like kind of like voraciously just reading and studying and modeling a lot of people at that age, because I knew I didn't I felt like I didn't have that experience or like that silver spoon, or like I didn't have that blessing. He just, my best friend's father kind of just put me on a trajectory, and I just started studying like a mad dog. And really though, Dana, I just got in the trenches and started doing the reps, dude. I opened a real estate brokerage by my 21st birthday. Well, a kid with a brokerage and 25 employees, there's nothing a Harvard MBA is going to teach you more than being in the trenches, hiring, firing, growing, marketing, and all the above. So I kind of had baptism under fire at 21, dude. And that's really what lit my fire for entrepreneurship. Like, I wasn't born to be an entrepreneur. I had no goal to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to make money, and I wanted to travel, wanted to snowboard and surf and stuff. Like, that was what I felt, that entrepreneurship would be a vehicle for that. Then I fell in love with entrepreneurship after the fact of like the freedom and the creation, and that really the impact is what hit me really hard. Because I opened a brokerage, I had 25 real estate agents that I was coaching. I'm 21 years old coaching 50-year-olds on their business, man. And I fell in love with this idea of, man, I could develop systems, I could coach these guys and train them and give them tools, and they go win, and then they come back here and tell me, like, dude, that was awesome. To me, that was the coolest vehicle on the planet, to watch somebody take my advice and actually win with it, make money, and provide for their family. There's not a better feeling than that, dude. I think that's the greatest drug on the planet right there. When somebody comes back to you and goes, Dana, I read your book, or I got this idea, or, hey, man, I was inspired by you. To me, I think that's why we were put on this earth. And
for sure.
That's what my huge mission is now, man. So
love it. That's so cool. So let's narrow down. Then it sounds like the age of 16 was a big catalyst for you, and then the age of 19 was as well. It seems like you were very busy at the age of 19, kind of actually going out and doing this stuff. So let me ask you this: as a 19-year-old college kid, football player, myself, walked that same exact walk. How did you end up at a Tony Robbins seminar when the rest of your peers are out, doing partying and living that lifestyle? How did you navigate that as a 19, 20, 21-year-old? How did you navigate that lifestyle?
Dude, it's the funniest story. So I'm working for this real estate company, my real estate mentor, and I didn't have anywhere to go because I was 19, and I just hung out in the office all the time. Like, I slept there. Like, I was just, like, eating their food because they had, like, bagels and donuts. Like, people would bring in snacks all the time. And, like, I would just hang out there, dude, and, like, talk to people. Well, anyway, I was rummaging in the back cupboards one day, and he had this old Tony Robbins CD set. Not even DVD, a CD set. And it was all duct taped up, and it was Unleash the Power Within. Forget the ad, excuse me. The ones that, like, Tony sold on TV infomercials. And it was all duct taped up, and I, like, kind of looked around. Nobody was there. I grabbed it, and I went back to my little office, man. I started listening to these tapes. So it was a 7-day course, I think it was. I listened all 7 days, and I go back to my mentor, who was my real estate boss, and I hand him back his CDs, and I go, hey, man, I hope you're not mad, but I just found these in the cupboards. They were dusty and old, and nobody was using them, so I didn't think you'd mind. I listened to them. This was an awesome course. Who is that guy? And he goes, oh, dude, that's Tony Robbins. I was like, dude, I love that guy. And he's like, well, hey, would you be open to seeing him? And I was like, yeah, I just Googled it. There's this conference thing going down in Los Angeles. Do you want to go with me? And so he went with me, and I did. I'm 19 years old doing a fire walk, bro. And I was like, let's go. And so that was my first, like, real big experience into, like, live events. But, dude, I can go back to that conference and tell you, like, the psychology, the limiting beliefs I had at the time. I'm too young. I don't come from money. I'm from a single wide trailer. And he has you in that process kind of reprogram those limiting beliefs and then walk on fire. And I still talk about that to this day, as I think that for me was like this huge moment. And for those listening too, we all have that one thing that is like holding us back, right? And for me, it was I'm too young, or I'm not worthy, or I'm too old, or whatever that is. And when you can like own that and identify like what that is and overcome, like figure out how to overcome that, dude, like that was a huge like turning point in my life personally, bro.
Absolutely. Well said. And I want to then kind of move into, you talked about, one of the false beliefs you had was I'm too young. And specifically, you were too young by a lot of people's standards in the sense when you were 21, you said you were coaching 50-year-old business owners, right? Yeah. And I think back to my own journey, and, when I was 19, 20, 21, whatever, early 20s, I always hid that. That was something I never told people. And then if they caught wind that I was young, they instantly instantly, discredit me or, so that's why I see nowadays, like, people are, disrespectful to young people just because they're young. And it's like, you know what? A lot of young people don't know a lot of the things, but you were young too, and they always talk about, they make fun of, 20-year-old life coach guru, like, what does he know? It's like, you know what? Some 20-year-olds are smarter and more mature than some 50-year-olds. So, we got to catch the dog. Maybe the dog got out.
Lights went out in the office, man.
That's all good, man. I had a gas leak earlier this morning. I didn't even think I'd be able to do this, so it's all good,
to
man.
your
It's part
point,
of the
though,
deal.
is, I understand that, right? Like, what does a 21-year-old life coach have to teach you? Well, he actually might have some pretty cool systems. It's funny, we're coaching these two young personal trainers, about 22 years old. These dudes are jacked. These dudes are 22, and I get they have a better metabolism. I understand all that, but they're jacked. They're two twins. And what do they have to teach you that you're 55? A whole lot. They obviously are modeling what they teach. They got the process, they got the systems, they got the tools. Yeah, they actually have something really great to teach you. And I don't care how old you are, how young you are. If you have a track record, you can teach people. I believe in this. We all battle imposter syndrome. I know I do. I'm sure you do sometimes too. Dude, it's funny, like a funny experience. I threw my first big conference, and that wasn't huge. It wasn't like the stages you guys are on. It was 350 people were in the room, and it's my conference, right? And I'm in the back, like they're introing me, and I'm holding the microphone, and there's this photo of me, and I'm like paralyzed to walk on stage at my own conference, nonetheless. And like I'm sitting there, and my partner's like, "Bro, you're on." Like they're introducing me, and I was so afraid of this imposter syndrome. But Dana, I found if you've either gained a result for yourself or gained a result for a client, no matter how old or young you are better served to help somebody else. We just had Ed Mylett on our podcast, and he said something that it really stood out to me. He said, you are better served to help the past version of yourself that was struggling. And if you look at it this way, like for you, before you wrote a book, right? No matter how long you've been writing books, and now obviously you're stud at it, you're better served to help that person. He said, if you've been an alcoholic and got through that, you know the psychology, the mindsets, the excuses, all the above. If you've been fat and lost the weight, you are so better served to something. Like, for me, I can help a young entrepreneur because I've been there. I've been broke. Like, I've lost everything. I've gained everything. Like, when you've had $1 million and lost it, like, you kind of have abilities to teach people, right? And I just feel
Absolutely.
that even if you've just done something for yourself or, like, saved your relationship or whatever, that started a podcast, right? You're better served to help that person who's struggling with that, because I believe that there are millions of people out there right now struggling with a problem that you know how to solve. And if you know how to solve it and genuinely have a huge heart, then it's kind of your duty and your obligation to share that with those people, man. Whether that's, like, let's say you battled depression. I know you were just touched on this. If you've helped yourself get through depression, isn't that awesome to then turn around and go share that with the world? And I think so often we get afraid to share our voice or share our message of the fear of what are people going to say or who's going to listen to me. But dude, if you just talk to that younger version of yourself 2 years ago struggling, like think about it, like when you break down the psychology of that, how many people go to bed at night, like they're watching Netflix or they're having a glass of wine or scrolling TikTok, and they're truly like physically upset about that problem that you actually know how to solve? And to me, that's the power of a podcast, power of like a TikTok video, power of an online course or whatever that is, because you can reach them. And if you just talk to that younger version of yourself, I found it allows you just to speak really just real, raw, and authentic to that version. And somebody can relate to that, brother.
So good. So good, man. And there are life experiences that you, as a younger person, have had that a lot of older people haven't. Specifically for you, growing up poor in a trailer, even though you're 20, a lot of the 50-year-olds never had to do that. So, like it's stuff like that you can't discount somebody's life experiences just based on their age alone. But I do want to peel back to something you said. I think that's worth noting for people out there that maybe haven't experienced this or whatnot. But you said that you were like really, really nervous to go on stage at your own event. And I will tell you, when you said that actually gave me a lot of relief. And what I have experienced is that I get way more nervous at my own events than I do at other people's events. Even if I'm speaking in front of 10,000 at someone else's event, I'm way more comfortable there than I am speaking in front of 50 at my own. And here's why I think it is because I look at, I get to someone else's event as a guest, and I greet them, and I ask how I can help, and et cetera, et cetera. And I see how nervous and stressed they are. And it gives me relief knowing that this isn't something that I have to be doing all of the, behind the scenes stuff. So I don't mean to bring that up because you're about to host one, but maybe you feel that way too.
The meetings on meetings on meetings I have leading up to Ministron. Yeah. No, dude, juggling 1,400 people. Like, we get a phone call from the hotel. Like, how are you going to feed 1,400 people? I don't know. You? They're like, no, you are. You're hosting a buffet now, and it's going to cost you $90,000 a day. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, woohoo, right?
Yeah.
Dude, but the reason I bring that up is I like to give people a lot of permission that, like, they'll see, like, maybe you online or me online, or, like, they'll see an edited reel of me and think that it always used to be that way. It wasn't. And so if you're listening to that, don't let somebody's 10 years ahead of you slow you down from starting today. We all have to start somewhere. First time I walked on stage was in front of 100 people, and Dana, I had my first mic drop on my first speech, not in a good way. Like, I didn't drop the mic and walk off. I physically was shaking so hard, I literally dropped the microphone, and it bangs, and I got to bend down and pick it up. And that was my first speech. People are like, dude, you're so good on stage. I'm like, no, bro, I'm not. I'm just a guy that's trying to get a little bit better. And, like, yeah, I would love to speak like a Tony Robbins or Ed Mylett. But if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, dude, I want to be like Dan, well, just start the podcast. Your first episode has to start somewhere, right? Like,
Absolutely.
your first chapter has to start. Your first video, you have to start somewhere. And whether that's a fitness journey, your content creation, your first sales funnel, whatever, don't let somebody 10, 20 years ahead of you slow you down from starting today, man. And I'm very open about that. I own my mistakes, because I'm still making them on a daily basis, and I can relate to that, because I used to be the kid in the back room at the conference going, man, one day, one day I'll be on the stage. And like, everybody has to start somewhere, and I just think that's a powerful thing to share, man.
Amen. And could I also echo the converse of that? Don't let somebody that's 20 years younger than you and more vibrant and energetic, don't let them, do what you're trying to do either. You can reinvent yourself at any age. Colonel Sanders was like 65 when he started KFC. I mean, with his social security check, like, it's never too late. So this applies to everybody, regardless of your age. The point is that age shouldn't be the, deciding factor on what you're doing. So I want to take a quick second to talk about today's show sponsor. So first is the Therapy Farm. So therapyfarm.com is an online community that is bringing kids that are suffering with illnesses or ailments or just otherwise are struggling, and it connects them virtually to folks that own animals. And what happens is they'll have every week they'll get together and they'll spend some time digitally via a video chat. And what's really cool about it is it gives the child that maybe is going through an illness, even a terminal illness, or just is struggling developmentally or behaviorally, it gives them something to look forward to every single week, puts a smile on their face, and actually impacts the whole family in a really positive way. And it's 100% on the back of volunteers that volunteer time with their animals, and it's a really special place. So if you feel it on you to help kind of contribute to that cause, head over to therapyfarm.com. You can make a donation. You can volunteer yourself and your animal, or you can even nominate a child that you know that could use that free service. So 100% free service for kids, sick kids, struggling kids, to put a little special animal connection in their life. So go over to therapyfarm.com. The next sponsor I want to talk about is if you are ever in the need for apparel printing or accessories, hats, jackets, jerseys, sports team jerseys, work uniforms, corporate gifts, etc. Everything you can think of. My friends over at 1-800-T-Shirts would love to help you. And I've got a special deal if you go over to if you call 1-800-T-Shirts, tell them the Good Side sent you, or go over to 1-800-T-Shirts.com, use promo code Good Side, and they're going to give you a special deal and take good care of you. So 1-800-T-Shirts is a Midwest-based company. I know the founder personally. They're an amazing company, and they'll take really good care of you on your next T-shirt. This is more than T-shirts. It's everything. So apparel, you name it, they can take care of you. No orders too small, no orders too large. They can even set you up with an online store, which is what I use personally. It's amazing. They take care of everything. So go over to 1-800-T-shirts, call 1-800-T-shirts, or go to 1-800-T-shirts.com and get all of your apparel and printing needs taken care of. So again, I want to thank the sponsors, therapyforum.com, 1-800-T-shirts.com, and here's the rest. You're doing. So I do want to switch gears a little bit. I got to get to know, Mr. Nicky T a little bit better. So
yeah.
Let me ask you this. What's a food that you absolutely love?
In-N-Out Burger, bro. In-N-Out Burger in SoCal. That's a go-to of mine. You had it?
You know what? I have not, and I want you to tell me all about it. Why is In-N-Out the best?
Dude, it's just a fast food drive-thru joint, man, and it's just a good burger. For me, it's funny when you look at the nostalgia of it. Growing up in Prescott, Arizona, we're landlocked on a prairie. I grew up, I was a little skateboarder. I wanted to surf one day, man, and for me, the ocean was this epic thing that I wanted to strive for and work towards. And you, at the time, could only get a burger in California, in the West Coast. And so for me, I had my first burger, I think, when I was 16 years old on a trip out there. And it's rad now. Obviously, my dream was to move to the beach. I live in San Diego now and I surf. So for me, it's that taste where I'm I'm in California. Now they're everywhere. They're in Arizona, they're in Vegas and stuff like that. But for me, man, it meant the world. So for me, I just have this little nostalgia with In-N-Out Burger because of that laws of attraction, right? That was on my vision board to be the SoCal West Coast guy.
Yeah.
And now it's on every street corner. It's normal. And so for me, whenever I want to remind myself, they sell T-shirts there. 16 years old, dude, when I was in high school. It's funny, the seeds you plant then and don't know about it. I bought 5 of those T-shirts, and that was my wardrobe, for school one year, these In-N-Out Burger T-shirts, because it had the car hubs on the back and stuff. And I always wanted to live.
That's swag right there.
And I didn't think that would be possible. And so for me, bro, In-N-Out Burger beyond a shadow. And you can switch out your Coke for a vanilla milkshake, and I'll drink the milkshake before I even get home when I leave the drive-thru. At the one by my house, dude, it's 45 minutes in the drive-thru to get a burger. And I mean, I'm not joking when I say that.
It's worth every second.
Oh yeah, buddy, I'm gonna have to overnight you a few.
That's so awesome. If anybody. There are no shortage on reasons why you should like Nick here, but if you need another reason, he's the first and only person I've ever heard that has a cheeseburger on his vision board. That right there, I just have to give you props. That is amazing, dude. Love that.
16-year-old me, man. He had some big dreams. Cheeseburgers and surfing in California.
Well, hey, now as an adult, you can enjoy that anytime you want. So I'd say you've made it.
Thanks, bro.
That's awesome.
You know what? Thanks,
No, that's great, man. There are so many good burger joints. For those of you that are listening or watching, comment below. Is In-N-Out, is it the spot? I mean, is that the best place? I think there might be some people across the country that might disagree. There might be some Whataburger. There might be some Shake Shack people. I don't know.
This kid bought 100 burgers and hopped on a plane and went to New York City in the snow and sold them outside of a bar so people could have the joy of In-N-Out Burger. I just watched that, actually. So
I wonder how much he made, because he deserves to make a lot for doing that. That's amazing.
Or he deserves a spokesperson award from In-N-Out. He needs to be like a sponsored TikToker for them, because that was badass, man. Maybe it was a sponsored ad and I didn't know it. They're really good with the creative. Who knows? Who knows?
That's amazing. Good deal, man. Well, if and when I come out there, I will have you be my Sherpa. We will go to In-N-Out, and you will help me to know what to order, and we'll enjoy that to the fullest.
Amen.
All right, man. Let's kind of move along here to a little more serious topic. What are some of your top life accomplishments that come to mind?
You know what, man? I had one this morning that really meant a lot to me. So I'm driving into the office today. We're helping an author publish a book, and she's doing this women's book. And so she's had 12 women write a chapter of this book, and 5 of the women are in my coaching program. And I got really emotional about it because she called me in the book's about 2 weeks from being published. My assistants in the book, people that I genuinely care about. And so the book's about ready to get published, and I feel that giving her the vehicle to do that, you've kind of led the charge on that, man. Becoming an author and showing people what you can do with your voice. And she called me and she was crying and she said, man, I'm proud of you. That was up there. The second one, we had a single mother. She was a single mother in real estate, and she's a realtor I've been coaching, and I inspired her to write a book. Well, we were at her book launch party last month, and it was at this little country club. Well, come to find out that country club was where she worked as a single mother trying to provide for her kids before she got into real estate. 22 years later, she's back there at that same country club holding her book launch party. And she gave me a hug and she started crying and I'm bubbling like a little baby. And she said, Nick, this is life-changing. And it was crazy is that her daughter that she was trying to fight so hard for at the time was there now. And she's expecting. And so now, she's going to be a grandmother. So I got to meet the child all grown up and they're back full circle in the same room. Well, here's where it gets better. People are watching your story. There was a gal inside that was a young single mother bartending. And she got to see this lady do her thing. And the girl said, hey, what do you do? And she goes, let me tell you, young lady, I used to be right here in this same exact restaurant. I got into real estate. Let me help you. Dana, those are some of my proudest moments, man, is helping inspire people to share their voice and make an impact in their lives. And that's really, really cool, man. Those are definitely up there. Hands down, though, for me, proudest day of my entire life. Our legacy's from Ireland. You got the red beard in your brother, so you're probably Irish or Scottish or something down the line. But my father had never been back to Ireland. That's where his grandma and grandpa were from, and they moved from Ireland to Chicago. And so a few years back, I put a goal to take my father to Ireland, and I was able to provide him and my baby brother all expenses paid trip to Ireland, and we got to go do all of Ireland. I took him back to the county where his grandma and grandpa had met and got married. We stayed in a castle. We had whiskey in this castle. And it was over his birthday. My dad got to have a Guinness and some Jameson in Ireland. He was the first Trevillian to go in his family to go back. And he started crying, when I said, dude, my baby boy made that happen for me. And I'll tell you, Dana, that one right there is probably hands down. Being at the Guinness brewery, we're on the top floor having a Guinness with my father, watching him experience his home country where he's from and his ancestry, I thought that was up there, man. That was definitely one that really hit home.
Come on, dude. That is amazing. Every person out there that has the opportunity to work toward something like that with a parent, what would you tell them right now? Especially those that, are mindful of, I want to do this. I know this is a dream come true for them, but I just don't know how, or I just can't, or it just isn't a priority. What would you tell them?
Dude, put it on your vision board, put it on your goals list, and go to work like a mad dog, man. To me, Dana, that's what entrepreneurship is. No matter if you're in sales or whatever, it gives you a vehicle to go help people around you, live their best lives and achieve their goals, right? And I just think when you go chase your own dreams, you grow into that version of yourself. You give permission to other people to do that, but you also give opportunity to those people around you as well. You know what I'm saying? A quick story, I'm going to San Diego. Well, the family comes and sees me every 6 months. Well, my niece is 9. I got to teach my 9-year-old niece to surf. And I'm there with her in the water, and she catches her first wave, and all these surfer chicks go, yeah! And, we're videotaping it. I didn't touch my first surfboard, dude, till I was 32 years old. You know what I'm saying? She got to have that at 9 because Uncle Nick chased his dreams, moved to San Diego. Now they're able to go experience that life. And I would just say to you, put that goal in your heart and soul. We call them fire goals, something you're just absolutely on fire. Dana, I had one goal for the year. It was take my dad to Ireland, and it was every check that we got, I'd move $100 aside, and I was just let's freaking do this, man, let's freaking do this. And so we got a video of my dad getting his travel guide to Ireland and his itinerary and a Guinness T-shirt. And dude, yeah, it took me 12 months to work on that. That's okay. Just fight the fight now. But I'll promise you this: the time's going to pass anyway. 6 months, 12 months, 24 months is going to go by. Put that goal down and go to work on that crap and make that thing happen, man.
Absolutely. And the fact that, you had the 12 months to be able to put that together and made it happen, that's a gift in itself, let alone being able to enjoy that moment with your dad and your brother.
Well, dude,
that's
you become the person in the process, right? You're not supposed to know how to be that person yet. Let's say you wanted to launch your first sales funnel or whatever. If you knew how to do it, you'd be doing it. If you knew how to write multiple books, you'd be doing it. So to me, the art of achieving a goal is actually who you become in the process, right? I'll tell you, dude, there's a lot of things that happen when you're chasing goals and fighting the good fight. You learn a lot about yourself in the trenches, man. When it's dark and, when it's cold out and nobody's watching you, you find out what you're kind of made of, man. But isn't that the sweet stuff of being an entrepreneur, a course creator, or author, or whatever? I just think that's fun because you just get to set this stupid goal or crazy goal and then try to grow into it, man. Absolutely.
And there's so much gold in the last 10 seconds of what you just said. And people, you should go listen back. Hit the rewind 15-second button, guys, because one thing that really comes to mind for me is, but what you just said is, people really don't embrace where they are now. They're just always so set on where they're not, right? Or where they should be or want to be. And part of that, I mean, there's a saying like, you can't wait till the rain stops to go dance, or whatever the saying. You got to go dance in the rain, right? Yeah. If you wait until the rain stops, it's too late. So I would love for all of you out there to listen to what Nick just said and really think about that and enjoy where you're at. Because if you think about it this way too, like I thought about this the other day, your younger self, wouldn't your younger self kill to be where you are now? Dude, even if where you are now is not perfect, right? I think back to myself when I was 17, 18, man, like I'm living the dream, literally, as crappy as things happen, right? Like, are we not living the dream right now?
Dude, now that you need to rewind 10 seconds and actually listen to that. You're aware, like, oftentimes you're living what the younger self, dude, and I'm so guilty of this too. Maybe you are, where like you're chasing these big goals and dreams. I'm like, I want, this, or want to achieve this. I'm like, yeah, but dude, give yourself grace, man. Take a breath and look around, like, this is badass. Like maybe you wanted to start a podcast and you never had one, and you're recording a podcast. Like for me, dude, I'm on Dana Derek's podcast. Like me 4 years ago, fanboying you at Funnel Hacking Live in Nashville, Tennessee. Like if I could go back and be like, yo, young Nicky T, hey dude, in like 4 years, you're going to be hanging out with your boy Dana Derek's on this podcast. I'd be like, shut up, bro. No way. I'm like, we're here today. That's cool. That's cool.
Oh man. Well, thank you for that. If we could go back 4 years, I would have known what you just told me. I would have gone up to you, I would have smacked you upside the head and said, Nick, calm down, man. We're both going to be killing it in 4 years. And we're just a couple of dudes that grew up poor and ended up in a college football locker room and knew there was more to life than that. So
yeah, but let me tell you that. I flew on that plane. I got on that plane to go to Nashville for Funnel Hacking Live, and never started a course, never had a sales funnel, never had a membership site, didn't have a podcast, all the above. And I want to make sure I stress that. And so if you're listening right now and don't have any of those things, it's okay. You have to start somewhere. Give yourself grace, dude. Like, I think the biggest thing I've learned this year is to give myself grace. And it's like, well, I didn't know that stuff then, Dana. You can't get yourself mad. Like, that's why I paid, the $1,000 ticket and invested to come watch that, because I wanted to have an online course. I wanted to have a community, and there was hopes and dreams, but you have to learn the right process, have to have the right coaching, right model to follow. And I just think that's worth noting, that if you're tuning in right now and don't have the book written or the podcast or, whatever that is, that, like, you can truly model somebody like Dana and get there in the next 12 months. And I just think that that's a really cool thing, man.
Amen. And I love that you just said 12 months, because my own personal journey with Funnel Hacking Live is the first year I went, I bought a ticket kind of last minute, didn't know what to expect. I just knew that this is a cool community. I loved, sort of what they stood for. And I got there and I didn't know anybody, man. Sure. And I sat in the back just by myself, and I'm not I'm not that shy, but like, I'm not good at getting to know people. And the people in that room are very different than the people I live around, in Wisconsin, the middle of nowhere. So it was very culture shock for me. And then I loved it. And I knew I needed to really go all in on this. And within 12 months, look how much can change. Just what Nick said. 12 months later, I was on stage as a speaker there. Like, look at how much can change in 12 months if you just really go for it. So, love that, man. And let me tie, that kind of ties into the next thing. And you kind of, I think you touched on it a little bit, but who was your biggest inspiration growing up?
Ooh, Tony Robbins, man. Tony Robbins. I was young. My rich dad was a huge inspiration for me. He took me to Hawaii, and like, we got to do some really cool stuff. Got the jet ski and stuff, and that meant a lot to me. And then it was really Tony Robbins. And right now, Ed Mylett, man. Ed Mylett is up there for me as somebody that is just awesome. I mean, he's one of my heroes that I've studied, and it was crazy. We had him on our podcast. He's the keynote speaker at my event, MenaceCon, and we're on the podcast with him. And I just, instead of asking him a question, I just wanted to tell him how much he meant to me, and I shared this analogy, and he was just like, wow, like, thanks for listening, man. And Sean Whalen, the founder of Lions Not Sheep, man, like, an absolute inspiration. Ironically, Sean's one of our speakers at my event. So, like, I get to talk to my heroes, and I have them on the podcast. And Sean, for me, is somebody that lost everything and built it back up. And to me, I really like that story because, I did lose everything in my life and had to build it back up. So I really like those. Dude, I like those Rocky stories, man, because, like, I didn't come from a silver spoon. Like, I'm just the kid that, like, never got it right, and by, like, the 12th round, I'm black-eyed and bloodied and, cut me, Nick, cut me, like, I'm over here, like, trying to figure some stuff out, Dan. And for me, like, I feel like I'm like that true, like, underdog story, so I kind of rally around those stories, man, so much.
Love that. Now, I want to just lay one question on you with respect to when you were 19 and you were a kid, and you found Tony Robbins and you heard his voice and you listened to his message, man, and that resonated so much. I can tell, like, what was it about Tony in that moment? Like, what did he represent to you? Was he like, it was bigger than just a CD you found. Like, what did Tony represent for you as a 19-year-old kid?
One himself, as an example, right? Like looking up to somebody that's successful. For me, I knew he was making an impact in the world, and I felt that that's something that I wanted to do. And like, you could hear it. You could hear his passion in the studio or in a video, and I could see, like, I started feeling some momentum, like hope in myself, right? Like, oh, I feel really good. This guy gave me this feeling through his voice and through his strategies, and I was like, wow, what a cool thing. What if he shared, how many people are listening to this CD right now? And I started thinking a lot about that, like how many people could hold his book and be inspired or watch his video or his course. And same with your podcast, man. Like, the cool thing is this is going to be recorded and it's going to live in infamy, like in a library. And so somebody could watch this. Share with you a quick story. I shared this video one day. Like, I battled depression, and we all do as entrepreneurs. We go through our ups and our downs. And I shared this really just raw, random, like 4-minute video. Like, hey, if you're struggling, I've been there too, all the above. And I put it out on Facebook, and it had like 39 views, dude, because I'm not that cool, don't have like millions of followers, whatever. But I was like, damn, that's like 39 people that watch this. You ever heard the starfish analogy? A little boy's walking the beach, and the starfish wash up, and he's throwing them back in the beach. And an old man walks up to him, and he goes, young man, there's miles of beach, and there's tens of thousands of starfish. You're not going to save them all. And he looks down, and he goes, I know, but I saved this one. And I heard that a few years back, because I'm not fancy, dude. I don't have 1 million followers, right? Like, I think I have like 10,000 on Instagram, and like 5,000 on Facebook. So, like, I'm that cool, right? And so I moved my focus to, man, what if I could make an impact like Tony did on me? And so I shared this video, and, dude, so 2 days later, I get a DM from a guy. And it's a video of him in a hospital down in the emergency room. And he said, hey, brother, I don't know you, but I saw, I follow you. I got your video about this, this, and this. I was going to kill myself later that day. I had set aside the bottle of whiskey and the pistol, and you, this strong guy, this guy that I follow, talked about it's okay to be depressed, and that he's like, I didn't feel alone anymore. And he goes, something in your video inspired me. I checked myself into the hospital later that day, and I just now I'm feeling better. They got me okay because I knew that they would protect me there, and I wanted to say thank you. And he sent me this video back, and I just went, I can't save them all, but man, I can save that one. And Dana, that just changed my trajectory on the way that I produce content, the way that I speak. And, my content's not about me, man. It's about somebody out there, like I said, talking to my younger self, dude, a few years back, depressed, battling, every emotion that, an entrepreneur at rock bottom can experience, credit card debt, and, am I worthy of this? You felt it, brother. I felt it too. And I just think that when we own that, like, if you're listening to me right now and you're trying to get your business off the ground, guys, I know what that's like, man. I know what it's like to grind a video out and have 50 views, or you're trying your first paid ads, you're trying an online course. Like, I get it. And I just know this, if you just keep hacking at that same spot in the tree, man, over and over and over again, you might need a new axe every now and then when it goes dull. You might need to take a day off or get some In-N-Out Burger when you get tired and watch The Office on Netflix, whatever. Eventually, man, you just keep chopping, that tree's going to fall down.
So awesome. And I love that you've identified that result, and for the rest of your life and everything you do, you can ask this question, and it can push you through. Get an In-N-Out Burger, and then the answer to that question, and you're good. You'll move through. But I want everyone else to think the same way, and that is, if all when you're thinking about you're growing your brand, right now you're getting ready for a live event, and I know how hard those are and how expensive and crazy they are, and you get a call that it's going to be an extra $50,000 for this, $80,000 for that, and it just all seems like, dang, is this worth it? Should I really be doing this? The question you need to ask yourself is, if all me doing this did was save that one gentleman's life, is it worth it?
Bro, I found when you speak to that one person too, like in your marketing, in your TikToks or whatever, it's funny how much people will resonate with that, and you almost attract in your dream 100 as you teach, right? Or your ideal clients. And I found, a lot of people come back and go, man, I feel like you were talking to me. I was like, I was just talking to myself 6 months ago. I was talking to myself last week, bro.
Amen.
And I think that it's important for people to understand, like, no matter where that person you look up to is at in the ladder, they're still experiencing the same emotions in entrepreneurship. The multiples might be bigger, but they're still going through the same stuff. Dude, one of my favorite books is the one Russell did on if you had 30 days to start a funnel and launch, what would you do? And dude, it was funny. If you go reread that book, there's so many similarities with every story of like, I was in my sister-in-law's basement, trying to launch this. Like, my first course was on my iPhone, and I love that, man, because I can definitely resonate with that data.
Hey, man, that's so cool. So I want to get into a little bit about kind of what you have going on now. So for those that aren't familiar with, you're about to host MenaceCon. You've got, I see the Menace AF podcast, all things Menace. So tell the people, like, what's the backstory on this Menace thing? Like, what does it mean to you?
Dude, so 7 years ago, one of my buddies approached me and goes, dude, can we meet like once a month? And I had a real estate office. He's like, hey, can we meet once a month? And just like you, me, and a couple guys, we'll just share ideas about our businesses and like we'll get help. And I was like, dude, what a really cool idea. And so we met once a month and it became like my brotherhood, right? Like my little tribe. And that same group of guys would go to Funnel Hacking Live together and we would go to events together. And they were like, we would rent a house every year. So we never stayed in the hotel, Dana. We'd always rent like a townhouse and we'd have like 12 dudes in there ripping content and stuff. And so these became my brothers. Well, anyway, I moved from Phoenix, Arizona to San Diego 4 years ago. And I'm in San Diego going, damn, dude, I got to keep this mastermind going. So one year, I get this bright idea to hold a mastermind in San Diego on the beach. So I rented this big-ass house that fit all of us yahoos, and I brought them out for this mastermind. And all it simply was us, roundtable for 3 days, talking about like what's working, what's not, right? Just giving. I didn't charge anybody. We had 18 guys there. 18 of my buddies showed up, and then we finished that night with this big steak dinner, and I made everybody wear suits, so we all looked really, really cool. And so anyway, this is right before COVID. COVID happens, and then right after COVID, all the homies were like, yo, let's do it again. So this is, Dana, this is literally January 2022. So this is literally 12 months ago, right? And so, same thing, I brought it back. I'm like, cool, dude, let's hold the mastermind here in San Diego. I get this really cool place. So anyway, we're all I took everybody on this hike up Torrey Pines over the ocean and this spiritual goal-setting session. Well, anyway, at the end of the 2 days, everybody's like, yo, we got to have more of this. Well, here's what's funny. That morning at breakfast, one of my buddies, like, we're just being idiots and just having a good time and stuff like that. Well, my mentor, James P. Ingle, as you know, leans to my one of my best friends. He goes, dude, you guys are just a bunch of menaces, man. Just a bunch of menaces. And he meant it with love. Well, anyway, I had a little coaching program at the time, and we were helping people build sales funnels and online courses and stuff. Well, my partner goes back. He's driving home. It's a 6-hour drive from San Diego to Phoenix. He's like, menace. Man, I am a menace. Like, I'm disrupting. Like, I don't agree with average and the status quo. He calls me up, and he goes, hey, you got this coaching program. I know what you bring to the table. What if we teamed up? We could reach so many more people. So literally the two guys that I held my first mastermind with like 7 years before, my partners Terrence and Jason, were the three founders of Menace and Businessman. And so we're 8 months old. We're just doing this coaching program, man. And so it was so fun. So we started a Facebook group and just started going live, adding value, just helping entrepreneurs, just giving tips. And so the group was like, yo, hey, would you guys do like a live event? So we threw our first live event in July of this year. We were like 2 months old. And like we were like, dude, what if like 50 people show up? 350 people showed up. We're like, what? Yeah. This is crazy. So it's funny. We had the room set for 300. Morning of, we're having to like add chairs in. By the end of day one, we had 375 in the room. Like 75 people that weren't even RSVP just showed up because their friends were texting them to come. And we didn't know how to check them in because we're not good at this. And so we're just like, come on in, for free or whatever. So then at the end of that, people were like, yo, this is badass. So it's literally the morning after. We're clearing up the conference. This is July, 6 months ago. Look at my partner. I go, we got to do this again. Not in a year. We're going to do this in the second week of January. We're going to do the best year ever. Build the business of your dreams. And dude, it sucks throwing an event during the holidays, right? Like, it sucks, man. And so we're like, no, this is what has to happen. You have to hit people that second week out the gates like New Year's resolutions, let's freaking go, dude. So we found a venue, and we call it throwing your wallet over the fence. Like, how do you commit to something? Well, if you have your ID and your credit card and your hat, you throw your hat over the fence. You're going to go pick it up. And you're going to go, if you throw your wallet, you're going to go pick it up. And so we throw our wallet over the fence. We found a venue that fits 1,400 people. And we're like, we did 350 the first time. Let's go fill 1,400.
Yeah.
And so it's called Menace Comment. And then it's so funny. Like, I get to tell you this of all people. Dude, the Dream 100 guy. We listed out like 15 of our dream speakers. And it was Grant Cardone, Andy Frisella, Ed Mylett, Sean Whalen, Brad Lee, Natalie Dawson, Brandon Dawson, who are partners with Grant Cardone. So we went through this list, right? And we're like, let's try. Well, you don't know if you ask. So we Dream 100 them, Dana. And so we literally sent them these big-ass boxes and cardboard cutouts of themselves, and we did all this cool stuff, dude. And so, like, a bunch of little fanboys, dude, we get a text from our assistant. She goes, this is a true story. She goes, hey, guys, just heard from Ed Mylett's assistant, ... And then we're waiting for her dots to come back. And we're like, Dan, what happened? We got Ed. And like a bunch of little fanboys, dude. And then a week later, Sean Whalen's like, I'm in. And we're like, no freaking way. We got 2 of our dream speakers. And then like 2 weeks later, Brad Lee's like, I'm in. And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So, dude, we're having fun. But I think our hearts are in the right place. We just listed out everybody that we wanted to see speak that we thought were epic and we thought could give a business owner a chance to build the business of their dreams in 2023. And, like, I'm going to be in the crowd taking notes as a fanboy. Like, I'm going to be there learning and growing. And so we just created a 3-day lineup like that, dude. And so, like, we just put our hearts out and said, what do people need to know? They need to know social media. So we brought in my buddy Carlos Reyes, who has 1 million followers across the channels. Pace Morby, 1 million followers on TikTok, has an A&E show coming out. So, like, each person strategically is going to teach on what they're excellent at. We have Jordan Adler, Send Up Cards, Network Marketing. Gary Brecka, 10X Health Systems, partners with Grant Cardone to teach on health. Like, dude, they're going to be doing IVs at his booth to give people the nutrients.
Yeah.
Like, we got a really cool setup, bro. And so, like, we just threw our hearts out, Dana, and just said, man, we're entrepreneurs ourselves. What would we want to learn? Who would we want to learn from? So we were able to give each speaker a topic that we felt would just make MenaceCon epic, bro. And, like, that's how it came down, man. I just believe if your heart's in the right place and you're aligned with your mission and your values, bro, you'll figure out a way. The why is what you have to dial into first. The how, the strategic, the technicalities will present themselves, bro.
Amen. I love everything you just said, and I want to say, too, congratulations, man. I know how stressful and anxiety-inducing it is to try and get people that are like your idols, or mentors, or your just dream people involved in those things, and it's scary, and for you to pull that off like that in such a major way, dude, you deserve all of it. So amazing job.
Dana, I did learn a lesson though. We were just sharing this with our students, and I'd love to share this with your listeners. Is there's somebody in your ecosystem, right? Whether that's on Instagram or whatever, that you can reach out to that would be stoked to be a guest, like on your podcast or like a webinar or whatever. And I think fear stops us. And it was funny, like, when we first made this decision to send these packages out to these guys, I was like really terrified about it. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, like, so if you're listening to this, like, who could you reach out to come be on your show? Like, even the way that I got here with Dana didn't happen by accident. Fish ain't going to jump in the boat. Do you want to tell them that story, bro?
Oh, dude, why don't you?
So, guys, I've looked up to Dana for years. I follow him. I fanboy him. I study his stuff. He put a post on Facebook, and it said, hey, I'm looking for guests to be on my podcast. I'm looking for inspirational stories. Well, what does the average person do? Like, listen to what I'm going to say right now. Like, turn up the volume and take a note on this. The average person will either like that post or drop one comment. Me, I'm in. Let's do it. I don't believe in that. I believe in creating relationships. So what I did, simply, I was at my desk. I pulled out my phone, and I shot Dana the sloppiest 2-minute video you've ever seen. That's it. It was shaky. It was raw. My makeup wasn't done. Just joking, right? But, like, I just said to Dana, my name's Nick. And I just told him who I was and my story and my heart. And I DM'd him that video. And, like, I teach this. So, like, think about this. Like, who could you send a voice memo to, or not just some cool DM, like a video? Could you send them a note in the mail? Could you send them a copy of your book, or whatever that is, to go touch their life and start a relationship, man? I believe in collaboration, but I believe that so many people will do the smallest thing possible and, like, call it done. And I think the same is true with, like, sales follow-up, all the above. So, like, dude, drop somebody a video, drop somebody a voice memo, a heartfelt story. I think can go a long way. So maybe that's a little rider downer for some of the listeners tuning in.
That's so good. Absolutely, guys. And from the receiving end of it, I'll just tell you right now, like, I made that post just looking to see if people had awesome stories they wanted to share on this new podcast I was launching. And most people saw it and scrolled on, whether they were interested or not, or scared or whatever. That's what most people did. And you had maybe about 10% that ended up putting a comment in, said, I want to share my story. And like, that was all the effort they put in. But then you had Nick. Yeah. Nick was the only guy that went to the level he did, and he sent that video, and I didn't think it was terrible at all. I thought it was amazing. And within 5 minutes of him sending it, I had watched the whole thing, and I knew he was going to be a guest. So,
you know what's interesting though, Dana, is I was scared. I went past your post, and I was like, I sat and I scrolled past it. And for you listening, are you passing up opportunities out of fear and your limiting beliefs? I did. 5 minutes goes by, and I caught it, Dana, and I went, Nick, I know you're afraid to share your story, your voice. You need to overcome that, because the best version of yourself. How would I respond if I was Ed Mylett or whatever? Like, he doesn't do this. And I went back to your post. I went search your page, and that's when I DM'd you. And so, like, keep in mind, I'm not perfect. I still get afraid every single day. Like, I got nervous to walk onto this. Like, that's so normal. And just own that. And I just want you guys listening to know, like, I was even afraid to send Dana a 2-minute video off of my iPhone. But I owned that moment. I sent it. And fast forward, we're here, right? And so, like, how many lost opportunities have I had in the past by, like, not talking to the pretty girl? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. And so if that's you listening right now, shoot the video. Trust me, they're not going to get mad at you. If anything, it starts a fun relationship, and then you have beard envy, as I'm sitting here with the baby beard staring at freaking the king of beards over here, you know? So
we go back to the 12-month thing. You're only 12 months away from having something wicked. So
focus on the beard game.
I want to make sure I don't miss this one. So I know that you have an incredible story of inspiration and resilience, and I want, if you're comfortable with, I want people to know. So tell us, like, what's something terrible that's happened to you in your life, and what's the good side of it?
Yeah, dude, I love that right there. You know, I think our stories matter. And you heard me earlier talk about how somebody out there struggling with that. And so 5 years ago now, Dana, I had a real estate business. I was making $1 million a year. Had everything I thought I wanted. I was fixing and flipping homes, had a great house, and I was stoked, man. Like, life was good, and had a business and all the above. Today, it was Christmas time, and over the winter I started having some numbness in my legs and stuff, numbness in my feet, and 2 days before Christmas, 2017 at that time, wow, this is how long ago that was now, I collapsed to the floor. I was paralyzed from the belly button down, had peed my pants, and I lost all control from the belly button down and blacked out. I didn't know what was going on. I knew something was going on because I had some numbness. I didn't know if I slipped a disc in my back or something. And so I woke up about 6 hours later. I came to in the hospital, and they did 24 hours of tests. And Dana, they found a tumor on my spine, and it had wrapped itself. It was called an arachnoid cyst, like spider legs, had wrapped itself around my entire spinal column. And that's what was condensing and crushing my nerves, like a boulder on a worm, if that makes sense. And we didn't know if I was going to walk again. I'm 32 years old, dude, ex-athlete, healthy. And I'm laying in the hospital bed, freaking out, man, wondering, what's going on. And so we found the best neurosurgeon, Barrows Neuro, went and had the surgery done. It was a 9-hour neurosurgery. And we didn't know if they would nix something, and that was the possibility. I remember signing the form that, hey, this might not work, and you might wake up in a wheelchair. And that was a lot to process, my man. But by the grace of God, I woke up from the surgery, and we didn't know if the surgery had stuck. And I was in the ICU for 2 weeks, brother. 2 weeks in the ICU, 32 years old, just looking at my life. And what's interesting is, that for me was the worst thing that had ever happened to me, pain-wise, emotional-wise, physically rock bottom, mentally rock bottom. What they don't tell you is when you're the solopreneur, you're about ready to lose a lot of revenue, too, because you ain't going to go to work like you used to, So I learned the lack of systems in my business. I learned a lot, Dana. But one thing that it really did for me was it made me evaluate my 32 years on this earth and then where I was headed. And I'll share this with you. One night, I was laying in the ICU. ICU is not a pretty place. And so in the ICU, there's 30, 40, 50 rooms. They wanted me to start walking to get, feeling back in my legs, right? And so I was pushing a walker, and I had to walk in a circle every single day. And this is the bright side, the good side of that accident. As I'm walking through the ICU, you're looking into rooms of people that are in their 80s and 90s on ventilators, and you're in that ICU, there was a room that people had to go to that if they had lost a loved one. And, that happens in the ICU. This is the critical care unit, right? And so every day I'm walking 3-4 times per day in this loop, Dana. I had to look into that room where they're in there with brochures making arrangements for their loved ones that had just passed. And for the first night I saw that, I was laying in my hospital bed alone. And when I was in the ICU, because it was my nerves, I had to be woken up every hour on the hour. What that means is 11 p.m., midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m. at the strike of the clock, I had to be woken up and I had to test my hands, my feet to see if the surgery had stuck. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so one night I wake up at 2 a.m. and I just could never fall back asleep. And you hear the cries and the moans and the groans. And I remember looking at my life going, Nick, what have I done in this life to make an impact? And what am I going to do about it? Like, if I didn't make it out of this hospital bed, like it's going to happen a few rooms over, you could hear them crying. You could hear the hustling and bustling at night. And dude, I just started crying one night. And like I had done some stuff, but Dana, that night I prayed to God because I felt God gave me a second chance. I'm very spiritual because of that. And I made a decision that I was going to pursue every dream that I had, whether it worked out or not. I was going to give it a try because I saw what the other side was like. I saw what the other option of me was going to look like. What's interesting is a few months later, I watched a video by Ed Mylett. This is why he means so much to me coming on our stage. And he said he believes that when you die and go to heaven, God has created the ultimate version of yourself, and he's going to be there in heaven. This guy that can make the impact, that level of income, change the world, change lives, all the above, right? Contribution-wise. And when you die and go to heaven, is that person going to look like a stranger that you didn't grow into or an identical twin of who you are on this earth? And bro, that stuck with me. And so I flipped the switch. I literally stepped down as CEO of my real estate company. I left everything. I sold everything. I put me and my dog in my Jeep, and I drove to San Diego with no rhyme or reason, dude. I get up there. I found a hotel. I found an Airbnb that I could rent for a month. I moved in on New Year's Day, 2019, 10 months after my surgery, and I started my life in San Diego out of a studio garage in some guy's apartment in Ocean Beach, San Diego, because it was the only one that would let me have it for a month. And, dude, I started my podcast that week. I started recording content, and I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know what that meant for me, but I knew that I had made a promise that night to start making an impact in this world, brother. And so that was the worst thing in my life, but became the good side, right? The silver lining, and something that it gave me an opportunity, Dana, to experience what depression at the lowest level was. I've hit rock bottom emotionally. I hit rock bottom financially. They tried to claim fraud on my surgery, so I got a $362,000 bill and destroyed my credit. So I lost a ton of money. Emotionally, I'm a wreck. Physically, I'm a wreck. Dude, I put on 60 pounds, started drinking way too much whiskey. I'm an Irish boy. That's what happens, right? And so, bro, I get to San Diego, a shell of myself, and I had to figure out how to get back in shape, how to launch a business from scratch, online nonetheless. And that's a lot of what I teach today, my 30-day challenge, how to start a course, right? How to share your voice, how to start a podcast. And I was able to put myself through my own course before my course even existed, bro, if that makes sense, man. And I'm bad. So when I talk about understanding the emotions of having nothing, I get it. When I talk about the emotions of putting on extra weight as an entrepreneur, 60 pounds over here, totally understand what that's like, man. And so I've experienced what the lowest, in my opinion, the lowest of the low you could be. And so I've just been on this challenge ever since to figure out what helped, what hurt, what worked, what didn't, and just share really cool stuff with really cool people. And if you can arm them with the tools to then share their voice with the world, together, dude, we can make a huge impact in this world, my guy. So that's the good side there, Dana.
That's amazing. I just want to commend you and say, God bless you, man, for overcoming that and for having that clarity while you're in the rock bottom of your life to see this vision. You didn't know that Menace was the vehicle, but you just knew that there was something there, right? You got to keep going. I got to get out of this. And I just want to commend you when everything was falling down for you, physically, financially, literally, figuratively, all of the above. You stood back up and literally got back on your feet and came out to where you are now. And
the
cool thing, my
brother.
man,
thank you.
Seriously, take this to heart. This is not even close to where you'll be. So
thank you, man. Thank you. But
it won't be long, and you're gonna. There's a saying, I can't remember who it was, but there was a congressman back in the day that when he first got admitted into Congress, he looked around the room and he said, "How in the world did I get in the room with all these people?" And then, like 2 years later, he walked in the halls of Congress, looked around, and said, "How the hell did they get in this room with me?" And that's what I see for you, man.
Thanks,
so
brother.
Foot on the
Thank
gas.
you.
I love your story. I love everything about what you're doing, what you stand for, and I'm just so honored to, call you a friend. And I can't wait to meet you.
Yeah.
And I wish you luck in everything you do, man.
Thanks, brother. It's been an honor to be on with you, Dana. And I would just share to the listeners, put that goal in place and just start going to work on yourself on a daily basis, man. Like, you'd be shocked, one video a day, 1 mile. Like, that's how I started losing the weight, Dana, was one little 20-minute walk, dude. Like, I couldn't even walk to the mailbox and back, right? So it was like, walk to the end of the street, send one email, then add a second email to your follow-up campaign, right? Like, just work 30 minutes on your funnel today. Write 500 words for your book. Write one blog post. But here's what I found. So that year, Dana, I set a goal to lose the weight. I just started running 1 mile per day. And it might not seem like a lot, dude. Fast forward a year later, Dana, I'm on a run one day, and the GPS is like, "You've ran 365 miles, dude." And I sat down. I have this video on my Instagram called the 365-mile video. And I just started bawling. And I'm like, the kid that's supposed to be in a wheelchair just ran 365 miles. This is really cool, dude. I ran a marathon 2 years after my accident.
Let's go.
It was during COVID, though. There was no marathons that existed. So I'm so silly. I mapped out 26.2 miles in a loop. I parked my Jeep. I packed a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I ran alone 26. I call it the Nicky T's one-man set goals, smash goals, one-man marathon race. And I was the only one there, dude. And I'm running dude. And so I get back to the Jeep, and it's 26.2 miles, and I'm like, there's no ticker tape parade or whatever. But what that taught me too, Dana, is these goals that you have in the trenches, right? The work that you do in the trenches, the video you record, the course you record, the podcast you start. I just believe you can change your life in 45 minutes per day. Block off 45 minutes, go build your funnel. 45 minutes, go start your podcast. 45 minutes, go on a workout. And if you just did that every single day, bro, you'd write a book, start a podcast, run 365 miles. And I'm not that special, bro. I can do, in my brain, I got 45 minutes, man. Let's go. And if I can't just, if I just block this off right now, I just think that, the tiny little 1 mile per day lesson for me is how I run everything in this life, dude. One lead at a time, one opt-in, one email, one sales call, one episode. In 6 months, 12 months, brother. 12 months, you can change your life.
Brick by brick. Absolutely,
Boom.
Man. Love it. So cool. Where can people find out more about you?
Dude, I love my Instagram, Coach Nicky T. That's it, Instagram. I like Instagram so much because I can do the stories, bro. I love, you'll meet my dog. I'll be surfing. I share really cool content. Coach Nicky T on Instagram, man, is where it all goes down. That's where the love is, bro. That's where the love is. Coach Nicky T.
Yeah, go get on Instagram, guys. Coach Nicky T. I'll be over there. I don't even go on Instagram very much, but I'm going to now. I wanna see all the goodies. So
yeah,
that's
dude,
awesome, man.
I share a lot of inspirational quotes every day. You know what's funny? The quotes I share, Dana, guess who needed to hear them first? I read a quote, I'm like, damn, this inspired me. Share. People are like, thanks, I needed to hear that. And it's funny, when I record content, oftentimes, I'm just talking to myself this morning, hey, dude, you need to get up and go run. I'm like, hey, you should get up and go and run. A lot of my content is me talking to me, and oftentimes it resonates with people because it's just real. So yeah, at Coach Nicky T, so you can get a hold of me for anything you need in the world.
Let's go. That's so awesome, man. You are a special human being. I am so humbled to be able to get to know you better. And everybody out there that, if this resonated with you, go give Coach Nicky T a follow. Go hang out with him and get into his world. You're incredible, man. So I just want to tell you, again, thank you so much for being a part of the good side. And, all things love and good luck to you, man.
Thanks for having me on, brother. It's been an honor.
You bet.